I think we live.
Oh, okay. We in here.
We live, baby. All right, we live. Oh. We get the little thing. We get the little theme music going. Well, I got to hit us with some tunes now. Just some little cool little tunes. Some little, some little, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, some cool little tunes.
Okay.
So, yeah. Freestyle.
Good vibe.
Freestyle. Check it. Yeah. Training the Trainer. We on YouTube and we live on the tube. Bum ass trainers. Hey, what's their name? My name is Mal.
Hey.
His name is Shaun. Shoot it like in the barn.
Ooh.
Side of the backboard. All right, that's it. That's all I got. That's all I got. That's all I got. That's all I got, man. That's all I got. We're gonna go and get it cranked up, man. Man, welcome, everybody, to another episode of Training the Trainer podcast. I am your co-host, Jamal Richardson at JMR Basketball. The person to my left, my dog, my brother.
They know me.
Oh, it's just at that point. They just know you now.
They know me.
You big time.
Hey, listen, we ain't got to do that. Look, Mom, it's on the screen. We don't have to do that no more.
I'm fat. Man. So you know what we should start doing? We should just.
I'm sorry. I'm here, man. I'm here with my bestie.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, but before we start this episode, bro, I just, T2T hoodie. Oh my man, I feel like got nothing. Shout out to Bill, man. I ain't got, man, what's up? I ain't got no merch.
Hey, there's only 2 hoodies. I ain't gonna tell you who got the other one.
Let's start the episode, man. But anywho, merch coming soon. As soon as I get my merch, then we'll release the general population merch. But the hoodie's fire though. FYI, hoodie's dope. Yes, sir. Hoodie's dope, bro. But yeah, man, we got special topic today. Very, very important. Particularly for both players and parents, but it's more so directed to parents. And today's topic, man, we want to talk about parent expectations versus player expectations and realistic expectations. Very, very important, man, because this is something particularly in dynamic with the relationship between players and parents. And also parents and coaches and parents and trainers and players and coaches and players and trainers. There's a lot that comes along with that, man. So we just really felt like this is very, very important to kind of dial in and talk about, man. So, Shaun, I'm gonna let you have the floor, bro. I'm gonna let you crank it up, man, and let's get it rolling, man. Let's get this ball going.
I'm gonna jump into probably my favorite part of this whole discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Is the initial contact from a parent, as a trainer.
Mm-hmm.
I think my biggest pet peeve in this situation is you get a phone call or a text, and the parent immediately explains to you what they think their kid is good at and what their kid is bad at, and what goals they want for their kid. I say it's a pet peeve because I would rather talk to the kid first. I would rather address the kid and see what the kid's mindset is. Is the kid ready to work? Is the kid ready to realize their flaws and put the work in that's going to be needed to get better at those things? What is the kid's goal? Whether you want to go play college basketball, he's trying to make the high school team. I always try to make sure, like, can I talk to your child? Can I communicate with your child for a second? And if they're at middle school, high school age, of course, we're not going to talk to a little 7-8 year old kid. But I think my biggest pet peeve is parents have these, at times, not all the time, have these unrealistic thoughts about what their kids can already do.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just handing me a blank canvas and let me figure that out in the first workout. We work out together. What I feel like they need to work on, what I feel like they need to get better at. So to go to the topic, I guess the first question I would want to ask Maul is, when a parent calls you, how do you handle it? How do you respond to it? What are your expectations once you get to the workout?
Uh, when a parent calls, man, I think first I want to just get a gauge on um, the expectations from the parent. Um, Kind of just what they're looking for in terms of what they really want to focus on skill wise and mentality wise, everything to a degree. Um, and then from that point, I do make it very, very adamant um, in regards of parents have to allow me to do the job. You know, if you're going to pay me for my expertise, my knowledge, and my service, you've got to let me be that voice. And not saying that a parent can't chime in and can't give their input, but I would rather not have that take place during a workout because a lot of times it becomes for some kids and some players it becomes a struggle on deciphering, do I listen to my parent or do I listen to the trainer or do I listen to the coach? And so um, having the mind frame of allowing them to hear my voice, allowing me to be able to um, introduce my philosophies, introduce my tactics and my techniques and my strategies to help them be able to, you know, pick up, decipher, analyze, and apply. You know what I mean? And so I think, the involvement of the parent, I love the enthusiastic aspect of it, but then at times it can also be overbearing, especially when you're trying to do too much. Like so in retrospect, if it comes to a situation to where a parent comes in and they're like constantly just in the ear of the kid, I tell them like, look, if that's going to be the case, then just don't, you shouldn't need me for my services. You know what I mean? You can do that yourself. So I want that to be a point of like allow whoever you are or whoever you are going to help your child, like allow that person to be that voice. You know what I'm saying? And so, and what happens is again, you kind of create this dynamic of, you know, you don't want to make it confusing for the kid. You don't want to make it a internal battle of who they should, who they should pull to, who they should listen to. So that's one thing. Another thing too, just from an expectation standpoint, I often tell parents, listen, I'm not a miracle worker. I'm not going to turn your child into an All-American in 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
So understand that within this process of training, like you have to be patient.
Yeah.
It is patience as the ritual say is like patience is virtue. So things that I'm teaching, things that I am applying to your child, realistically, sometimes they may get it quickly. Sometimes they may get it uh, a month or a year or 2 years or 3 years from now. So you have to give the player time to develop mentally, give the player time to develop, uh, just from emotionally, give them time to develop physically, but more importantly, man, like just be supportive. If there's any advice I can give parents, man, just be supportive and do not jump the gun. Like be patient in this process. You know what I mean? Because if you're looking for instant results, quick fix, microwave mentality, especially in this training game, like it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? So you have to be supportive. If anything, echo what I'm saying or echo what you're saying. You know what I mean? Like be an additional voice to influence and to enforce what it is that we're trying to teach instead of going against the grain and trying to make it a back and forth thing. I
I
think.
think the things they do is parents want their kids to progress at this rapid, unrealistic pace. Uh,
Hmm.
they feel like a weekend, maybe you get two workouts in a week, and all of a sudden they don't see what they think they should see come game day. It's we need to do this more, we need to do that more, instead of just trusting the process. Um, it takes 21 days to create a habit. So how can we think in 2 or 3 workouts we're going to be effective or going to be doing what you're learning at a high level that
Right.
quick? Sometimes you may have instances where some kids pick up certain things quicker than others, But I feel like the parents have to have the patience to understand like this is going to be a process. This is not a microwave situation where I'm going to send it in and send it back out like you said and be a miracle worker because
Right.
it doesn't work like that. Um, I think another thing I want to try to address here is kids come in with unrealistic expectations at times too about their games and where they think their game is, where they think they have their goal is I want to get in the NBA. I'm thinking to myself, everybody wants to get in the NBA. But right now, I feel like your main focus should be just getting a scholarship. Let's just start small. Let's start small. Let's get this free school and have the expectation of our goal is free school. Especially in regards of, I think the hardest thing we do, Jamal, is to tell a kid they're not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the hardest thing. I think it's always been a difficult thing when a kid asks you, like, what do you think about my game? And I'm like, you want to be truthful? Like, yeah, be truthful. And it's just hard to tell them, like, you need to fix this, 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 and this. And you're not where you think you're at right now. This might be the reason why you're not playing as much as you want to play right now. And that's a hard discussion to have. I also think that kids need to get off the highlight culture. um,
Yeah.
because you want to come to workouts, you want to work on all this. What I seen DG do last night, but I don't think you understand. DG's been doing this since he was 10. Um, I think that's the hardest thing for kids. Like, you got to get the basic fundamentals before we can even get to the next level of your skill set. With proper footwork, being able to handle the ball, both hands, comfortable. Just so many little things. What is the craziest? Okay, let me say this right. What is the craziest expectation you've had a parent send a kid that's contacted you?
Man, probably. I mean, I'm just gonna use DG. Probably make my son like Darius Garland. Um, and I get that more often than you think. You know what I mean? Like it's quite. I think it's quite just. It's a lot, and I. And long story short, it's a lot, and the reason why it's a lot because of the fact that one is it comes into a comparison. Like you're wanting me to make your son into a player that is one of one, that's unique. You know what I'm saying? Secondly, you're not going to be that player. Period. And it's not to say, you know what I mean? It's not to say that you can't get to that level, but you wanted me to make you identical to a player that has just a unique skill set, has a unique talent, has a unique base, has a unique foundation. So everything in correlation of wanting me to turn your son into a player like him is just not feasible. Uh, I think it gets to a point to where the expectation becomes that, and then when it's not met, then it's disappointment that comes along with it too. You know what I'm saying? And so before even going to that depth and going to the grain of saying that, hey, um, turn my player into DG. I want my son to play like DG. Now, if there's some similarities and there's some familiarity and things to that degree, all right, yeah, we can take little bits and pieces, but I'm not turning every player that I work with into a Darius Garland. And that's just the truth of the matter. But what I can do, I can turn your son or daughter into the best version of them. And that's all predicated on their skill, predicated on their ability, and predicated on their attributes. But for me, man, it's probably like the most, I'm not going to say it's the craziest thing, but I am going to say like it's the most consistent thing that I hear. And I try to really just scale that down to understand, like, man, like, you know, DG is unique,
Yeah.
completely unique. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I can't expect to turn, um, I can't expect to turn every player I work with into him because it's not going to happen. And don't don't take it as a sign of disrespect. Don't take it as a diss. But it's just we talking about realistic measures. You know what I mean? Like because if that's the case, I put it this way: if I could turn your son into DG, your son would be in the NBA. I would have 1,000 NBA players right now. You know what I'm saying? So and that's just it is what it is. So I think you got to also understand, man. Like I think just the request, and I get it because I think when people see the work and they see how enamored um, of the process and how you have helped build and turn a player into a great talent such as DG, I get it, and so if I understand as a parent, if I see that like, man, like Jamal was able to help DG do this and this, like I want him to do that for my child. I get that excitement, but then like you also have to bring it down to like let's bring it down to earth. You know what I mean? Let's bring it down to earth because I can, everybody's not gonna be him. So instead of hey, let's turn my son into a Darius Garland, I'd rather you say, hey, coach, can you develop and help my child in understanding the process and understanding what it took to be that caliber player and understanding what it took to be uh, to the process and understanding what it takes mentally, what does it take physically,
Yeah.
what does it take spiritually, what are the things, let's take that process and can you help my son or daughter become the greatest version of themselves.
Oh
Like
no.
we want to work, you know what I'm saying? Like let's work like Darius. I don't want to turn my player into a Darius. Like I think changing that landscape of how you look at it will help you to be able to understand like my expectations now is really catered around my kid in a healthy state and not in a state of comparison. You know what I'm saying? So I think like so I'm not gonna say that's the craziest thing that I get, but I will say like that's the most consistent thing that I get. But I'm gonna flip that back to you. I'm putting that back in your corner.
It goes into the same lane. It's always to piggyback everything you just said. It's always I heard you work with such and such. Can you get my daughter or son to play like them? And I'm always saying the same thing. Can we just make your kid be the best version of who they're supposed to be?
Mm-hmm.
I think I get random calls sometimes of I think the biggest thing for me is when I get the random calls of consistently telling me what I need to do without me even meeting the kid at all before. Um, I feel like we as trainers have been doing this for so long. We have an eye of what needs to be fixed and what needs to be enhanced. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing is always just comparing kids, and that's the biggest frustrating thing to me. Like, why a parent? I want my kid to be like somebody else's kid. I want them
Mm.
to work. I want them to work and be them. That's what I
Yes.
would. I don't think people understand the kids that they call and compare their kids to. They're usually with us every day, Jamal.
Yes. Absolutely.
it's,
Absolutely.
it's not no 1 or 2 days out of the week, and then the rest of the week they got practice, they got that. They're with you every day, whether it's before school, after practice, whatever. They're with you every day, and I don't think a lot of parents understand that. I tell parents like, "You want your kid to come here every day? I'll work with you financially. It ain't gotta be what it is. We can figure it out if you want them to come here every day." So I think that's the biggest thing. It's comparing kids, like you said. I think that's the
Hey,
biggest.
I'm gonna let me follow back up. Let me give you a follow up question. I know you mentioned parents call and tell you what they want. Kind of look at it in the concept of like, all right, let's say you were a car mechanic or you can you doing car renovation or whatever,
Mhm.
and they give you a I want some new rims. Uh I want a brand new display system. I want leather seats. I want such and such. Like, how do you handle that in regards, like you said, as a professional? How do you handle regards of the request? Like, do you allow parents to give you the outline of what it is that they want to specifically work on for their child, or when does it become too much? When do you have to step in and say, hey, like, I know you want to do all these things, but right now I think it's best for us to X, Y, Z, A, B, C. Kind of like, how do you handle that process?
Um, you politely said the overbearing parent without saying it.
Yeah, absolutely.
He politely said it, which I've encountered plenty of times. Um, you handle it in the way of, I'm going to appease what you're telling me right now
Mm-hmm.
because this is my first 1 or 2 times with a kid. I'm going to appease what you're saying, and I'm going to attack those things the first couple workouts. But after the first couple workouts, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to explain to you, like, I understand what you're saying, but I feel like your kid needs to work on this more and this more and this more. So the next few times y'all come, that's what we're going to attack, because it may be something as simple as their footwork stepping into a shot. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, we're going to work on a lot of footwork stuff to get this down because they're traveling right now every time they get ready to shoot, or
Right.
they're stepping off balance, whatever the case may be, when they're getting to see a shot. So that's how I've always tried to handle it. Like, yeah, I feel like I understand what you're saying. Yeah, they need to work on some of the things you told me, but more importantly, I think they need to focus on these things right now. And that's how I've always tried to handle it.
It's a good point. And now to also segue into a topic that I know we both are, very, very familiar with, um, in terms of expectations and how it really impacts the dynamic of the relationship between a player and a parent.
Mm.
And in correlation, let's just call it what it is. You have a lot of parents that live through their children, right? And regards of seeing that their child has talent, seeing that their child has ability, and even if it's the complete opposite, but of pushing a child too hard or pushing them too much or being overbearing to the point where it really ruins the relationship between the parent and the child and becomes an unhealthy measure and there's no balance. I can share just from experience with me with my dad. My dad pretty much coached me throughout my whole life, and um, we had our moments. I'm not gonna sit up here and pump fake. Like, I'm gonna be honest. Like, we had our moments. Like, we had our moments where we clashed. We had our moments where we really just went back and forth. Because my dad was really the only voice that I really heard. Because I'm talking about from when I first picked up a ball all the way until I went to until I graduated and went to college. Um, so really, I didn't have any other coaches outside of high school, of course, and middle school, but I didn't have any other coach except my dad. So that's the only voice I heard. And so um, there was and so for me personally, like, there was always an expectation that I felt like I had to live up to for playing for my pops. You know what I'm saying? Because my pops was tough. He was an old school soul, tough, hard nosed, gave you tough love. But was my biggest cheerleader, but also was my biggest critic. Um, but I will say, like, even though we clashed, I think my dad also knew, when to kind of back up, when to kind of, like let off the leash. You know what I mean? But there are some parents and some players that they're not as fortunate to have that type of relationship. So I kind of talk about, man, like, how that is impactful in regards of keeping a healthy relationship between player and parent.
I always address parents with, if you're going to pay for a service, let me go do my job. That's the first thing I always try to emphasize. And secondly, I think more than anything, I try to tell parents, like, let me be a different voice for your kid. Granted, you may have been saying the same things I've been saying. I mean,
Mhm.
I've been saying to them, but all they hear from you is take out the garbage, go wash the clothes, go go do your homework, whatever the case may be. Go to your room. That's all they hear when you're talking to them about basketball. So
Right.
let me trust me and let me be the different voice to emphasize the things that you've already been preaching. Because I feel like, of course, as a father, you're going to work with your son or daughter up until a certain age, but up to a certain point, I want to hand my kid to someone else so our relationship as father son stays healthy.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely.
I think me and you've talked about this several times. Like, we have this child, like Jamal. I'm gonna give him to him. He probably like 7, 8, bro. I'm just gonna be done with his own. I want him to think that's Uncle Jamal that works with me. That's who. That's my guy. Instead of Daddy always being, let's go to the gym. Let's go to the gym. Uncle Jamal, he's gonna feel like I'm gonna see my Uncle Jamal. We're gonna do what we're gonna do.
Yep.
So I think that's the biggest thing that I try to emphasize to parents is just let me be a voice. Just trust what I'm teaching and instilling in them, not just basketball wise, but in life. Period. Try to have life lesson talks from time to time with the kid, especially once you start building a relationship with the kid. Because it's like we always say, it's bigger than basketball.
Mm-hmm.
We always try to engage with the kids outside of just how many points you scored last night. What happened? What happened again? Like I want to have real life talks with them about like how school, man. You got a girlfriend, you got a boyfriend, like what's going on? Make sure they feel like and they know that I do care genuinely,
Right.
just
Right.
like their parents do. So I feel like I said before, it's all about being a different voice, and I try to always tell parents just let them trust me. We'll figure it out. We're gonna make it work. I think that's the biggest.
Absolutely, man. That's super valid, man. And I'm gonna add something to that too, man. I think, man, the best thing, as I said before earlier, the best thing a parent can do is be supportive. Particularly when dealing with coaches, when dealing with trainers. Like the best thing that you can do is just be supportive. Um, I'll be honest. The last thing that players want to hear, especially when they have rough games, is you jumping down their throat even more. You know, they hear it from the crowd, they hear it from the coaches, they hear it from the teammates. At some point, you know, as a parent, I think it's important that you provide a healthy support system, a healthy support base to help them through the tough games, the tough moments, the tough situations that the game brings. Now, I think that now I'm not saying they should be excluded from accountability.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think you do need to you got to have them conversations like, hey, son or daughter, look, like in order for you to get to XYZ, like you got to play better. You got to be mentally better. You got to be, but there's a way of doing it in a healthy space. You can hold them accountable without like jumping down their throat and without, you know, making them feel subjective to like extreme failure. You know what I mean? Like, because there's those moments when, you know, they're going to be at the pinnacle, they're going to be at the top of the mountain. And then also there's going to be moments when they're going to hit a low point. You know, so as a parent, like, how do you manage and handle helping your child get through those spaces is very, very important. Again, particularly, man, when you're dealing with certain coaches that are, especially coaches that are super tough, that are super demanding, that really wants something and demands and expects a lot out of you. Man, I ain't gonna lie, man. The last thing I want to hear is my mom and dad just chomping down me on me because I had a rough shooting game and we may have won, but I didn't play particularly well. And I'm having to hear, well, that's the last thing I really want to hear. You know what I mean? And so I think that's the last thing players want to hear. And again, I'm not saying exclude them from accountability, but I am saying if you are going to hold them accountable in a space to where, man, like you're not, emotionally and verbally beating them up. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a lot for them to take on. Because there's already self expectation for as a basketball player. You're gonna naturally have self expectation. You're, especially when you prepare and work hard and you do the work and you put in the time and effort. Like you're gonna hold yourself to a standard with as an individual. And sometimes we don't we're not going to exceed or we're not going to succeed in meeting those expectations. So there's already that within ourselves that we have to inner battle, an inner struggle that we battle with, just depending on how you think individually as a person. So a parent, man, the best thing you can really do, man, is really be a great support system for your kid. I think it's so important and so vital that sometimes, man, having that rough game, but man, my mom and dad come. My first thing my mom is do, man, she gives me a hug. Hey, son, I'm proud of you. Like that for me, man, was so important because it helped me to learn how to manage and understand that. Listen, you're gonna have those rough stretches, but that comes along with the game. That comes along with life. But I'm here to support you. I'm here that I'm in your corner, regardless. You score 50 points, regardless you score 0 points. Regardless if you made the game winning shot, regardless if you made the biggest mistake in your career. Like having that support goes a long way. You know what I'm saying? Um,
But that goes to what you said earlier, though, about the parent living through the kid. That goes all back to that full circle. Majority of time when the parents living through the kid, they take the kid playing bad harder than the kid does.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That
And
goes to that whole point.
and even and that's what we talk about, and that's where pride comes into play. That's because as a parent, you know what I'm saying, ain't nothing like bragging on your child. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, my son, I'm gonna keep it always stacked. Look, if I have a son, Lord bless me with a son or daughter, and they're really good at basketball. Oh, I'm talking my shit. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Let the
I'm letting
shit
it be
go
known.
in.
You can't. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm letting it be known. Like you can't touch my daughter. You can't touch my son. Like my son is boom, boom, boom. And then but again, there's the expectation, and then there's the pride that comes along with that. Because then now there's a target. And sometimes as a parent, you can unintentionally create a target for your child. You know what I'm saying? But now again, let's use let's use LeVar Ball, right? Let's use LeVar Ball, prime example of that. You know what I'm saying? LeVar put the target on his three sons, but I think LeVar did it in a way. I always felt like he did it in a context that was more uplifting, more than demoting and pulling them down. Like I always felt like he handled it the right way
Marketing.
because you know what I'm saying. And he marketed it, and he marketed the crap out of him, and he did a fantastic job of that. But regardless of what the world thought about him, like he believed and uplifted his sons so much to the point to where, like, really just like you know, globalized them to the degree of like it made them so polarizing. People, you either love them or you hate them,
Yeah.
but it wasn't no in between. So I appreciate that about LeVar, but LeVar always stood in the corner of his son. I'm gonna use Marcus Fitzgerald. I'm gonna use his dad, Paper. I'm gonna use his dad for as an example. So when Marcus was young, like Paper was kind of before he was ahead of his time. He was LeVar Ball before LeVar Ball. Well, Paper was always promoting, boom, 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 promoting. And then everything that come along with that, like because he promoted and uplifted his son so much, people started to see that and look at that like they started to naturally hate Marcus because of the publicity and promotion. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with that because again, that's my child. That's my child, and like I'm supporting my child, I'm uplifting my child, but also understand the other side of that too and everything that comes along with that. Because when you put them in those spaces, be prepared for everything, the backlash, the on pouring of onslaught of man, he did his son all that, blah, blah, blah. And that's not even, and your intent is not even to belittle anybody else's kid, but it's more so to just listen, I'm celebrating my son or daughter. I'm highlighting them. But there's a lot that comes along with that too. You know what I'm saying? Um, so I think again, man, you do that, but also too, like, be prepared for everything that comes along with that as well.
You're definitely gonna be prepared for everything that comes over there. But you also learn a lot about your kid and how mentally tough they are.
I
And Mark
like that.
is tough as hell
I like that.
because he went through a lot through high school with the
He
hates.
did.
Went through a lot and he came through it. And I admire him for that. That's some real shit he went through.
Facts.
So definitely find out a lot about your kid. We found a lot about Marcus, bro, because once you start getting that publicity, people put their own expectations on you,
Mm-hmm.
and you're never going to usually live up to other people's expectations. So for him to block all that noise out and still make it, big deal, big deal,
Huge.
big deal.
Huge. And that's coming from when he was in middle school. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I bro, just and again,
He was
just
one of the first kids from Nashville to go viral. You really think about it.
yeah. Like I remember when Handle Life featured
Yeah,
him on the page, like, and he just like he really blew up. You know what I mean? He was the first dude from Nashville, like to really just, really just blow up on that context on a national stage like that, man. Like, and to see like everything, how everybody was just like down his throat, bro. Like, man, just wanting to see, like, you know what I'm saying? It was at a point, it was bad, but it also goes to show like how, like you said, how tough Marcus was, man, and how he, and but more importantly, I always admire Paper. I always admire Paper because, like I said earlier, like he held Marcus accountable, and it wasn't about the performance, but it was always about his mental. You know what I'm saying? Like he always told him, listen, I said, I don't care if you go 0 for 10, man. Don't ever let anybody see you, and don't ever let anybody have the ability to say, man, his body language, man, he quit, man, he was soft mentally. Like he said, man, I don't care what you do. He said, but one thing you're not gonna be soft mentally. Like you're gonna be able. Nobody should be able to tell whether you have a good game or bad game, because when you go out there and play, you go out there and play with a loving, positive spirit. You go out there and play with a desire of knowing that you a talented player, that you gonna have good games and bad games, but your confidence ain't gonna never waver. And that's the one thing I've always admired about Paper. And Paper, another thing that he does too, man, like I appreciate this about him as well. He's always celebrated other kids too. Like he's
Yes.
always highlighted other kids, and that's one thing I think that he does not get credit for. To my opinion, he doesn't get enough credit for how he celebrates other people. He celebrates other people's success, and that's a big thing. And I think that's so important too, man, because then it takes, not only does it take a lot off of like just him personally, but more so it's like he genuinely wants to see anybody that Marcus is a part of, or that he just even supports, even Marcus may not be a part of, that he may that Paper may personally know. He always is supportive of other people's kids. Like I see him promote Junior Clay. Junior Clay is, obviously him and Marcus, man, best backcourt in the OVC. Well, when Junior Clay broke 2,000 mark, man, Marcus Big Paper was the first one to boom, 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 man. Congratulations, boom. Even when Hershey Miller was here, he always promotes the other players on the team. He always does that. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's very noble on his part, man. I don't think he don't get enough credit for that too.
Real, real, real. I guess we'll go to the last topic here. Um, how do we, as trainers, continue to what's the word? I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. How do we, as trainers, continue to push forward and not give kids or parents unrealistic expectations from us? That's what I'm trying to say. What I mean by is, how do we continue to say we get a kid like we know is not on that level? How do we continue to push forward and help them get somewhere with their talent that they may already have? How do we try to please the parents without losing our integrity? I guess is what I'm trying to say the right way. How do
Yeah, I think, man, this it's simple, bro. I mean, you said this earlier, man. The truth will set you free. Period. Just being honest. I think being honest in a way of not you're not trying to destroy confidence. You're not trying to um, kill a player's dreams or hopes or anything to that capacity. But um, you have to be honest about who they are. You have to be honest about what to expect. You have to be honest about where they are, and you have to be honest about where they could potentially go. Um, I think a big part of it comes from like having the ability to, one having the. Let me just say this: having the ability to receive and having the ability to process. Those two things are so important. So on our end, we have to be able to have the ability to receive. I'm just gonna speak for like our responsibility role as trainers. I think we have to have the ability to be able to receive everything that comes with those expectations from parents and players, even through I mean, like really just taking the whole load of what's to come in regards of what they want, how far they want to go. And it's our job to be able to truthfully filter and decipher what's realistic, what's not realistic, what you can expect, what you can't expect. Now, there's not to say that anything can't change in between time because, again, we can't predict the future. You know, I'm pretty sure nobody expected Steph Curry to be one of the greatest shooters of all time and one of Hall of Famer. Nobody expected that, right? So I think it just comes down to the point of having parents and players understand this. You are who you are, and you're going to become what you're going to become, and you're not going to deviate from that, and nobody's going to stop you from being who you're supposed to be. Now, how far you go depends on, it's a lot of different factors that depends on that. Right opportunity at the right time, uh, depends on, how you're, genetically are created, how hard you work, the sacrifice and time and dedication that you're going to, take towards being in a position to where you can be the best version of yourself. But more importantly, I think the biggest thing, man, is just helping players and parents understand to just take it one day at a time,
Mm.
to not jump the gun, to not put the cart before the horse. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's, you know, let's just use an example of players that didn't make it to the NBA and how the expectation was for that player to,
Lenny Cook.
yeah, yeah, prime example. Lenny Cook is a great example. Having the whole hood, having his whole family, having the whole community depend on him on making it. And that's all he ever envisioned. That's all he knew is, I gotta make it, I gotta make it. And prematurely, a lot of that came to him too soon because he was so eager and so anxious on being in that spotlight, being in that limelight, regarded as the best player in the country over LeBron James at the time. You know what I'm saying? And that's, we all know the story on that. But the expectation though was just, it was too much given to him too soon as a kid. And I think because everybody was depending on him to make it so bad that he prematurely made a decision that was not the best for him. Because what was probably best for him is going to college. What was best for him was, picking the right school, developing, getting into the right situation, and being able to understand that, listen, the NBA is not going anywhere. NBA ain't going nowhere. It's been here before you even existed. It's gonna be here after you depart. You know what I'm saying? So like, focus on, and I get it. There's a lot of life things that happen that you know that kind of alters and it affects the way your process. But I think, man, just being patient. If you can make it this far if you can make it this far in life without being in the NBA, I'm pretty sure waiting an extra year or two or three or four, however that may look, I'm pretty sure you waiting that, be being patient and you having to do diligence and waiting their time and going at the right time is going to help you be prepared, way more prepared than what you were when you jumped in prematurely. You know what I'm saying? So I think, man, the expectations all kind of comes down to just take it a day at a time.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Parents, listen, a lot of your unrealistic expectations for your child get your child in bad spots. It puts your child in bad situations. You thinking that your child is better than what they really are because you're not telling them the truth and you're not having people around you telling them the truth. And then when it doesn't work out, you pick up your child, you try to move them in another situation, and that doesn't work. You try to move them in another situation, and that doesn't work. So then now you get stuck with a label of being a person and being a parent or being a player that's like, if it don't work, man, we finna go. If it don't work, so you're not even teaching your child how to even work through adversity, how to fight, how to compete, how to accept challenges, how not to give up, how to figure it out, how to be able to say, what do I need to do to get over the hump? Because when you always curtail it around, if this ain't the perfect fit for my child, we gone. They don't work that way. So if you're gonna just continue to pick up and move, that means you're not even being realistic with your expectations about your child. You're not being real about your child. Well, you know what? Just because he or she's an All American at this juncture, okay, when they walk in, you're gonna be competing against 5 or 10 other All Americans, right? So what is it gonna be? Is it you either sink or swim? And sometimes as a parent, you're gonna have to learn how to let go. You're gonna have to learn, you're gonna have to one day, you can't hold your child hand forever. You can always be supportive. You always gonna be there. But at some point in time, you're gonna have to let that child's hand go. You're gonna have to let them figure it out. You're gonna have to let them learn how to fight for it. You're gonna be there, you're gonna support, you ain't gonna give up on them. But sometimes they can't call it depend on you. You can't go talk to bless you.
Thank you.
You can't go talk to that coach and go politic with the coach and go do this and do that to get your child playing. It don't work that way because some coaches go, man, hey, okay, we had this conversation. I appreciate it, but hey, I'm just gonna tell your son or daughter to pack their bags. They can come back home with you. Then what do? You understand what I'm saying? So, man, just take it a day at a time. Like, be real. Like, be honest with yourself. Be honest with your child. I think that's so important, man. And again, get to a place to where, man, you just enjoy the process. Take it one day at a time. If your child can't dribble with their left hand, don't get discouraged because they couldn't do it in the first session or the second session. Like keep encouraging, keep telling them to practice, keep telling them to, hey, hey, you did a good job today, but hey, we need to put some more work in. Hey, let's go work on our left hand for 15 more minutes. And you will be surprised how giving them that positive reinforcement, how that really changes and how that really helps them on wanting to even be more motivated to wanting to go practice, to wanting to go do more. You understand what I'm saying? Instead of like force feeding it and making them have to do it, like, because sometimes they may do it out of resentment. They may do it out of resentment for you because you're forcing them to do it. You don't want your child to do something out of resentment against you. You want them to do it because they genuinely love to do it. You understand what I'm saying? So I think, man, I think that's like the most important thing, in my opinion, in the aspect of like take it a day at a time, be honest, be honest with yourself, be honest with your child. Like, because some of y'all are really setting your child up for failure because you thinking they're really better than what they are. And because you have this, this unrealistic measure, like you are expecting them everything to be catered around them and it's not life don't work that way. Life doesn't work that way. And it's not always going to be a perfect fit. It's not always going to be a perfect situation. But it's good for your child to have to go through it. And even if it's they at least go through it, stick it out and don't quit on it. And then if it's not right for them, okay, yeah, sometimes you're gonna have to pick up and adjust. You're gonna have to pick up and move. You're gonna have to pick up and find another situation. I'm not saying not to find what's best for you, but I am saying when it's not around what you're looking for, like don't make it to the point to where it's, man, you know what? We ain't finna, man, hey, we ain't getting no playing time over here. We gone. I never last thing I'm gonna say, you got the floor, bro. I remember listening to a Joel Berry that played at University of North Carolina point guard. I remember him telling his testimony, and he talked about his freshman year when he first got to Carolina. Now, mind you, Joel Berry, McDonald All-American, Jordan Brand All-American, was one of the top, I think, like top 2 point guards in the country in his class, top ten in his class overall. Like you name any superlative, he had it. He said he remember going in his freshman year. Freshman year, playing under Roy Williams, didn't get to play. Barely got played. Now he's playing behind Marcus Page, right? Playing behind Marcus Page, like playing behind big time players. So didn't get to play his freshman year. Was Coach Roy Williams on his ass every single day to the point where he wanted to quit. Called his mom. Mom, I'm thinking about coming back home. Mom, I want to transfer. Mom, I think about coming. And she told him the realest thing. She told him the most loving thing you can tell your child. And she said, I don't know what you think you're gonna do, but you can't come home. Coming home is not an option for you. You gonna keep your butt at North Carolina and you're gonna figure it out. He said, because the moment you come home is the moment I'm enabling you to quit. I'm enabling you to giving in to being uncomfortable and running away from adversity. Long story short, Joel Berry ends up being first team All American his senior year, junior senior year. One of the best point guards. Bob Cousy won the Bob Cousy Award. North Carolina was one of the best teams in the country. I think they made a deep NCAA run. Everything fell into place for him because he learned how to battle through the adversity. But his mom was the realest in that moment, and she showed the most love to him. That was the most loving thing she could do for him at that time because she would not give him a crutch. She was very honest. She was very realistic because it was bigger than just a game at that point. It was about life. If you quit on this, son, if you decide to give in on something, this is something you love to do. And if you give in on that because the cards aren't stacked in your favor, what am I doing as your parent? What am I doing as your mother or father if I'm enabling and giving you that crutch? Oh, well, they ain't playing my son. Okay, we gone. We out of here. What am I doing? I'm not helping you. If anything, I'm setting you up for failure. So the best thing that she did for him out of love, no, you're not coming home. The only time you come home for some when you get done with the season, you get done with you'll come home for the summer for a little bit, but you staying at that school, and that's the best thing that happened to him. And the rest is history. You know what I'm saying? So that's just kind of my 2 cents on it. You got the floor, bro.
Hey, bro. I don't have no follow up for everything you just said. You just said everything. Um, hey, man, the hardest part, which really ain't that hard. I'm gonna stop saying that. That's not the hardest part. We just have to be honest, man. I think that's the biggest thing that we take pride in. Is just being honest with parents, being honest with kids, and keeping it a buck. And I think that's why people respect us and people continue to come back to us or come to us as new clients. You're just honest, man. Like, yeah, you're great at what you do, but you're honest as well with the parents and the kids. And I think that's the biggest thing that can't be taken away, regardless, from just being honest, being real, and upfront with parents and kids. To piggyback the soliloquy you just went on.
I did go on a soliloquy. I went on quite a tangent, man. But I think you said it best, bro. Man, honesty is the best policy, man. Just being honest. You know what I'm saying? Because we really want. I think out of this conversation, man, from the both of us, like we really want, players understand this. One, your parents aren't your parents aren't doing this to hurt you. Like they love you.
Yeah.
They absolutely love you. And sometimes they're just misguided. Sometimes they just don't know. You know what I mean? Sometimes they are needing the guidance. They're needing the knowledge to be able to learn how to navigate and handle your situation. Secondly, parents, understand that everybody is not against your child. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody is not set out to see your child fail.
Yeah.
Now I think it's a point to where you have to just decipher and know who's in your corner, who's not in your corner, who is supportive, who's not as supportive, who's being advantageous and using you for the wrong reasons, or who's really in your circle to really see your child win and be successful. But also within that, making sure that you understand that be humble. Be humble in this. Because in this realm, in this industry,
Small.
you will fall. You will fall hard on your ass. You will fall flat on your face. Period.
Small world. It's a small basketball world is small, man.
It's a small world, man.
Yeah.
And the way that you parents, the way that you treat people, the way that you treat coaches, the way that you treat other kids, the way that you treat other parents, the way that you treat other trainers, trust me, word gets around. And if
Quick.
you get that type of reputation of being one of those type of parents that feels like can't nobody tell you nothing and you just know it all and you don't know how to treat people, you don't know how to respect people, like that it gets around in this industry, man. And once it gets around, it is hard for you to lose that label,
Yeah.
right? And the one thing you don't want to do, you don't want to be, you don't, the last thing you need to do is misrepresent yourself. Because when you misrepresent yourself, more importantly, it's going to be the detriment of your child. I'm gonna say that one more time. Misrepresenting yourself is gonna end up falling back on your child, and your child is the one that's gonna be hurt the most. Because your child may be a great kid, may be a great person, but if they not willing to deal, if people aren't willing to deal with you, because you are you are a part of the child's brand. That's your child. You created, like you are responsible for creating and taking care of and nurturing. So understand that you ain't just it ain't just about building up your child's brand. Like you are a part of your child's brand. So if you come with baggage and everything that comes along with that, people aren't going to be as willing to deal with you. They're not going to be willing to want to work with you. They're not going to be willing to accept, regardless of how talented. I tell you what, you got to be supremely talented. I'm talking about you better be Victor Wembanyama, you better be LeBron James, you better be on Kevin Durant, you better be one of them type of talents, or for people to deal with the shenanigans and everything that comes along with that. You know what I'm saying? So, um, man, it's this conversation is so important, man, and um, I think it's so vital, particularly from us, man. One, we don't, again, we don't have kids per se, but I know we feel like we got 1,000 kids plus that we work with
Yeah.
day in and day out, and so, um, and we've had the opportunity to deal with a lot of different unique situations, and so, which with our experience, again, we're not trying to parents understand this. We're not trying to tell you how to handle your child, but we are just offering, these gems. We're offering just wisdom and just our knowledge and just our experience, and just because more importantly, parents and players, like we want y'all relationships and we want the dynamic of your relationship to be as healthy as possible. And like you said, man, I know for the both of us, bro. Listen, when we have kids, and I told myself this, man, the number one thing that I want to be from my child, I want to be my child's number one fan.
Yeah.
I want to be a fan. I want to sit and enjoy watch. If my children child chooses to play basketball, I want to sit and enjoy watching them play. I don't want to put the whole unnecessary pressure. I just don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like if they come to me, if my children or child comes to me and wants my advice or once my help is, I'm always gonna be there to do that. I'm always gonna be there to provide assistance or a resource or whatever they like. We had a bad game. All right, listen, you know what we're gonna do? Let's go get some shots up. Let's go. Let's take your mind off of it. You know what I'm saying? Let's go back and we're not gonna watch film tonight. We're gonna watch film tomorrow. Let's watch film. Let's just break. And when we break it down, I'm not breaking it down to beat you up. I'm breaking it down just to help you understand this is what you got to do to avoid being in these situations. I'm gonna make sure I'm coming at it from a healthy standpoint. But like you said, I love what you said earlier, though, Sean, in regards to man turning that over to somebody else that I trust. Like the biggest thing I really appreciate about my relationship with DG is his mom and dad and the trust that they had in me and helping him become become the player that he is and the player that he will continue to be. Because now again, like his dad get it. Trust his dad played in the NBA. His dad knows way more in regards to just again, he played in the NBA. So the experience, the knowledge, he knows how this works. He knows how this goes. He's reached to them, he's been at the pinnacle. He reached the mountaintop for the things that basketball players want to reach. So but for him to trust me and allow me to be a part of his son's process. And more importantly, man, from watching him and how he handled his son and how my mama Garland, um, how she handled him as well. Like, again, they held him accountable, but it was in a way, in a measure of they did it in a healthy space, man. And again, like people forget, like, Winston coached Darius in high school. He was an assistant coach, but the
Mm-hmm.
way that he wasn't the come on, he always it was always in a healthy tone. It was always in a tone of hey, like hey 10, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Hey 10, hey, great job. Hey, love it. He was always the big. And again, Winston is another guy, always supporting other kids, man. Always pouring into other kids. He just didn't make it about Darius. Like he was always supportive of other kids, man, and wanting to see other people's kids succeed. And I think that's so important, man. If you can learn how to celebrate other, hey man, you can learn how to celebrate other people, man, when they win. Like it's so much good. There's so many blessings that's gonna come back to you on that, man. Um, but nah, man, this was a great episode, bro. And I hope, man, I hope people take, what we're sharing and what we giving to them, man. Take it to heart. You know what I mean? Because again, man, we've seen a lot of, situations, man, where you know relationships have been broken because of basketball, because of expectations, man. You know what I mean? And resentment and anger and losing the love for the game. And that's the last thing that needs to happen, man. But more importantly, the last thing that needs to happen is you're losing a relationship with your parent. You're losing a relationship with your child because of a game. It's a game at the end of the day.
It is.
And the context is, as much as we love it, as much as we have a desire for it, it's just a game. And let's keep it at
Jake Shuttlesworth.
Jake Shuttlesworth, man. You know what I'm saying? Try to get it. He ended up going to big state. He ended up going to big state, but they kept my boy incarcerated, man. You know what I'm saying?
Shuttlesworth. But he ruined that relationship as a kid, though, too.
Facts. It's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
I appreciate everything tonight, Jamal. Another good episode, brother.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely, man.
Live stream, bro.
Live stream, man. Yeah, before we get off, man, how you feeling about the new setup, man? Let's talk about this real quick, man. New setup, boom.
This is dope. This is dope.
For sure. Quiet. I ain't gonna lie. No,
lot better.
Quality OD though. I ain't gonna lie to you. We
better.
Yeah, we appreciate the 5 people that tuned in. Like, we're gonna get them. Don't worry, we're gonna get them numbers up. You know what I'm saying? We'll get them numbers up. We gotta figure out how we gonna, get everybody to transition from the gram. I know everybody's so used to seeing us on the gram, but now we're trying to transition to YouTube because again, we wanna.
I bet if we get who we supposed to have tomorrow, it'll transition from.
No question about that for sure. No question about that. It's definitely gonna go up. So we gonna definitely put that in motion though for sure. So yeah, man. So I'm excited about that. So we ain't gonna give it away. We're gonna be quiet. We ain't gonna give it away. We're gonna give it away. So y'all stay tuned. Y'all stay ready. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, stay ready. Stay tuned. We got something lined up, man. Got something lined up. But nah, man, great episode, bro. And hey, I hope the people, man. I hope they took the words to the heart, man. Hey, parents, players, y'all listen to us now. We know what we talking about a little bit. We ain't got no kids now, but we know what we talking about now. You know what I'm saying? We know what we talking about a little bit.
Well, I guess we're gonna get off here. Close it out.
We're gonna get out, man. Hey, man, we appreciate everybody for tuning in. Excited about this new transition, of course.
Yeah.
And we're gonna keep, I think is, bro, we're gonna keep making this, man, high quality. We wanna provide, the best content, being the best version of ourselves, man. We ain't competing with any other podcast, so we ain't even going down that route, man. We doing this because we love doing this for y'all, and we love doing this for each other, man. And whether we only got we got 0 people, we got 1,000 or 1,000,000 people, like we love doing this, man. So, but we appreciate y'all as always. I am down below. I ain't got to say it because y'all see it on the screen now. So, you know what I'm saying? You couldn't. So I'm saying, look at the presentation. You know what I'm saying? We got you feel what I'm saying? Bam. So y'all know me, my dog to the left or to the right, whichever way. I look like I'm inverted, but something like that.
But stay prayed up, man. Stay out the way.
And last but not least, we're closing out the episode, the after party at Attaboy. Y'all pull up on us. Yes, sir. Y'all pull up on us. We at the Attaboy tonight. I don't know what it is. Just hit us up. We'll let you know what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, my brother. I'll see you shortly, gang.
All right, man.
I bet that. Peace.